Okay, so we are back, and today has been full of even more news than we got yesterday. I feel like I'm a one-man news website at this point. That actually isn't a bad idea. And we had the W.A.D.E Concept media team for a long time in secret. Just hold on to that. That might be something you guys see sooner than you think. But yes, we got a lot of news because Jake Paul has announced a fight, but not in the boxing ring and not even one that we know the opponent yet. He's announced an MMA fight. That is right. Jake Paul in 2023 will be fighting in MMA, and every single prediction I ever make is always wrong. Jake also posted a video of him doing some low kicks, implying that Jake might actually get into MMA, and I think that's a terrible idea.
Terrible idea. Terrible idea.
Everyone laugh and point at me. But my big question is, why is Jake moving to MMA? I think I have the answer, but let's take a look. The breakdown, let's go. First off, they couldn't have got him a better chair. My man got the nice lighting set up, got the beautiful table, they got the shake animation to intro it, and they sit him in a $15 Home Depot chair. I think this is at Jake's gym too. Come on, bruh.
I've officially signed as an MMA fighter to the fastest growing sports league in the world, the PFL.
Jesus, jumping front kick. Missed it, but still landed with the thigh to the freaking ear. Holy cow. Let me watch that again, bro. Freaking skyrockets in flight. Afternoon delight. Completely misses the kick. Gets the palm strike to the head, though, on the way past. Bam. How you like me now? But just complete chaos to start this thing. Holy shit.
Not only am I an MMA fighter now officially signed to an organization, but I am also a co-founder of the new PFL pay-per-view super fight division. The big bosses got around the table. Chairman Don Davis, CEO Peter Murray, Nikisa Badarian needs no explanation, and myself. We came together to launch the PFL pay-per-view super fight division.
So one, the fact that Nikisa's involved, one, yes, he's Jake's manager, so that is almost a given, but also he does have UFC and MMA experience. And while Dana White has taken a break from throwing back shots and throwing hands on his wives, he likes to throw out that Nikisa was only an accountant for the UFC. He didn't have anything else to do over there, but he did work closely with Dana and with the Fertitta brothers while he was there. And in that time, I know he gained a lot of knowledge, especially on the financial side, of how to run a successful MMA organization. And Jake and Nikisa have done well with MVP, putting on their events. So it makes sense that he's there, and I think it's a great option for PFL. On top of the fact that Jake obviously brings eyes, it's a good move to bring Jake on board. The pay-per-view side is going to be a little interesting. Having Jake do a pay-per-view as a main eventer is probably going to make some money. Does anybody else on that roster as of right now pull in those kind of numbers or any kind of positive numbers to keep a pay-per-view super fight league going? That's the question.
I'm going to use my platform to market PFL fighters and introduce them to my fans worldwide. I personally will be deeply involved in making sure that the PFL is the best place in the world for fighters.
So essentially, Jake will be doing what he already does with MVP, promoting and marketing younger fighters. And if they can actually do it and keep younger fighters on that roster and have them build throughout it and turn them into pay-per-view stars, or get other former pay-per-view stars or potentially current pay-per-view stars to sign to PFL, this is a massive win for the company bringing Jake in.
I personally will be deeply involved in making sure that the PFL is the best place in the world for fighters. As you guys know, I've been trying to increase fighter pay for all fighters worldwide.
I like the messaging here. This is all great. But what is with this side cam? Jake Paul here. I'm here to advocate for fighters, head of fighter advocacy for avocation of the... I'm going to do it right. And by the way, where did I learn to talk like this? It was on the Disney Channel. They gave me a teleprompter, so thank you to Bizarre Varks. It's also really sad that I actually know the name of the show, but here we are.
And with the launch of this new PFL Super Fight division, our fighters will be receiving 50% of the revenue.
Ooh, okay. That's pretty big.
You heard that correctly. A true 50-50 partnership with fighters that still allows them to be individuals and even monetize their own sponsorship deals, which, as we know, isn't allowed in the UFC. You have to do what you're told and wear what you're told and promote what you're told.
Okay, sponsorships as well as 50% revenue share. This is a major deal. All right, so first thing, let's not get something confused. Jake is not saying PFL, the company, is going to be a 50-50 rev share with all fighters. That's not the case. He's saying specifically his super fight league or his super fight division will be a 50-50 rev split, and that is massive. And this is putting a lot on Jake's shoulders because they're going to have to sell a lot of pay-per-views and they're going to have to sell out some arenas to get this thing to actually work. And I'm not saying it can't. It's a great goal and they may actually get this thing to work, but also the sponsorship deal. The UFC used to do this. They used to have their fighters available to wear sponsorships from companies on their shorts, on their mouthpieces. During their fight week, they could wear them on their shirts, on the banners that were hung behind them while they were being introduced. And most fighters that weren't high-level main event guys, they would make most of their revenue, most of their money would come from sponsorships. Even a guy like one of our favorites on the channel, Brendan Schaub, and shout out to the Homeless Cats community, he even said he was making up to 100 grand per fight just from his sponsorships, which I don't know what his fight contract said, but other guys were not making that on their fight deals, so that would in turn say they were making more off their sponsorships. And when the UFC partnered with Reebok and now Venom, they took all those sponsorships away, so now fighters get a fraction of that cost, 20% maybe. The sponsorships are going to be a big deal because if they are on ESPN like PFL has been in the past and I think is still on now, those sponsorships will bring in a lot more money being on the worldwide sports broadcast leader and the same place that you can also watch the UFC.
And I am the first fighter to sign to the new PFL pay-per-view super fight division. And I'm taking this seriously, okay? Yes, I still want to become a world champion in boxing. But as you guys know, I was a wrestler first. And when all of these influencers started boxing and calling people out, if you recall, I said I wanted to do MMA. Roll the clip.
Are we taking it back? Oh my God.
Do an MMA match, and you would get dropped faster than Disney dropped me.
It's an MMA match?
This era of Jake Paul is one he just has to he probably doesn't regret it because look at the house he's in, but the content he was making back then is more empty than the fish tank behind his left shoulder. There was nothing of substance. Again, let's talk about what Jake's aspirations are in MMA. Let me be very clear, and yes, I've been wrong before, but this one I'm pretty certain on. Jake is not looking to become a full-time MMA fighter. He is looking to essentially put on entertaining fights, and I still think his focus is going to be mainly on boxing. Like he says there, he does want to become a world champion. And yes, I still doubt that he's able to do that in the future, but it does seem like that sport is where his mainstay is going to be. He's still mainly focused on the boxing, but he will come into the MMA scene to do entertaining fights. And it's probably a way for Jake to entice other guys that are MMA fighters he wants to box by saying, listen, I'm an MMA fighter now. I can do one in boxing and one in MMA. I don't know how many guys are going to go for that, and I don't know if that's a great idea for Jake, but still, it's something to get him more entertaining fights and build the biggest events that he possibly can with PFL. And something else that makes this interesting is also something Jake said on Twitter today regarding a potential fight between him and Tommy Fury.
Mike Perry, it might be your lucky year because Tommy is running again. The fans only knew how much money I was offering Tommy and he's still ducking me. It's pretty sad.
As you hear there, Tommy Fury has been offered more money, and I actually know the number. A source with direct knowledge of these fight talks between Jake and Tommy has confirmed to me that Tommy was offered $2.5 million. That is $500,000 more than the original offer that we reported on Twitter. By the way, go follow if you're not already. And you also hear in that video Jake talking about Mike Perry, which also a source told me was confirmed to be offered to Mike Perry. And Mike Perry has confirmed the same thing, coming out and saying, I've signed, Jake, where you going? So again, this lends to what I'm saying about the PFL move being more opportunities for Jake to get fights, because if Tommy Fury is just simply not going to come to the table here, he's gonna have to move on.
I've already disrupted boxing, and now it's time to disrupt MMA. I know that this is such a tough sport, and it's not going to be easy. But if I could do it in boxing, I could do it in MMA. I'm so dedicated to this that I offered Nate Diaz a 2-fight deal. First, we box. Then 6 months later, we fight MMA in the PFL Smart Cage and lay it all on the line.
Woo! Listen, I know people are not going to like when I say this, but if this is real, if Jake is actually offered Nate Diaz a boxing fight, and I don't know the numbers or the payment on it yet, so I don't know if this thing will ever materialize, but if he's offered him to box him and then go and fight Nate in an MMA cage, say what you want about how he is as a person or whatever, The dude has balls. You don't see anybody with no experience walking in and fighting a guy like Nate. And again, you can say Nate is not what he used to be. It doesn't matter. You're talking about a Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt. You're talking about a guy that has 20 plus wins and has wins over champions in MMA. Not coming to boxing solely, but doing it in his own backyard. That's ballsy.
I'm so excited for this announcement. I'm so excited to start training MMA for my first MMA fight. This partnership is going to change the way that MMA operates forever.
And this is one of the bigger questions I had in this video. Where and when is Jake going to start training MMA? We saw him doing some leg kicks, I think sometime last year at Jay Glazer's gym in Los Angeles, Unbreakable. That is a gym that a lot of athletes and celebrities go to, but it's not a home gym. You're not going to get the same level of training there that you will in other places unless you bring your own coaches in. And plus, Jake now is down in Puerto Rico, and you assume he's going to run his MMA camp like he runs his boxing camps, everything in-house there. So who does Jake call to bring in as his MMA coach? It'd be hilarious if he went out and got a guy like Ben Askren or DC to come in and help him capitalize on his background, his wrestling, stuff that he already somewhat knows. Again, he's not the greatest wrestler in the world. He did some high school wrestling at an average level, but still he has some experience, and to capitalize on that is kind of what they've already done in the boxing side. Jake having power, speed, athleticism, they've capitalized on that. Maybe even bringing a guy like Chael Sonnen in. I know that sounds crazy, and Chael's never been a coach, but he's been a part of some real big teams, and he has offered advice to even people like Jake, a guy he knows and actually likes, and you're talking about a wealth of knowledge in the fight game. He's definitely an asset that Jake can use to try to find a team or find people to bring into camp. Definitely want to bring someone in to familiarize him with the kickboxing game and just the distance of it, right? Even if he's going to be primarily a boxer, being able to judge the distance is going to be something that's going to be a little more difficult in the MMA scene. So that's where we leave this. And quite frankly, it's a great move for PFL. It's a great move for Jake. It does seem a little difficult to follow through with a lot of the things he's promising here, but it can be done. And if they actually do it, PFL might grow faster than you think in 2023, 2024. And depending on if they can pull some of the big names away from bigger promotions and keep some of their homegrown stars there, who knows what's next for PFL? You guys let me know down below. But I don't have those answers or who Jake's opponent will be in MMA or even his next boxing opponent, but I'm excited. So guess we'll find out.